Hi golfers, Rob Cheney here from GOLFTEC Singapore. Today's video we're going to discuss a ball striking drill called the prop. It's going to transform your ball striking and help you crush and compress those fairway shots like never before. You're going to need one of these, you're going to need one of these. Let's get started. So before I show you this drill, let's talk about some of the things that it can help with and who would benefit from doing it. If you are someone who typically hits the ground too much before the ball, tops the ball, so effectively really struggles to get that low point control, and if you're even aware that maybe you hit up on the golf ball rather than down on the golf ball when it's on the ground, I think we have to start there. I have to start by saying golf shots that are struck from the ground by expert players have a downward or a descending angle of attack. That's the club head is traveling downwards as it makes contact with the ball. And a common error I see in amateur golfers on the mat here at GOLFTEC, measuring here with the Foresight GC Quad, we can measure the angle of attack, and all too often poor ball strikers have an angle of attack that isn't down enough or isn't down at all. I sometimes and quite often see golfers hitting fairway shots, iron shots, where they're hitting up on the ball. The club head is actually moving up through impact, and that's not sustainable. Nobody who's any good does that. So the concept and the whole premise of this drill, which I'll show you in just a second, is designed to help you hit down on these shots. It's designed to help you have a downward angle of attack, hit the ball first and the ground second, and compress the ball. You should know by now that the number one fundamental in golf is ball striking or contact. Making good, solid contact is what separates the best players from the poorest. It's the basic foundation for good golf. Hitting the ball first and the ground second comes from having your weight suitably forwards as you hit the ball, and the accompanying wrist angles and shaft lean to allow that to happen. This exercise is going to teach you how to do that all for free, really. It's going to encourage one simple drill and one simple feel to build all of that into your impact position. So in order to do this drill, you are going to need a prop of some sorts. To do the prop, I've got a bucket here, range basket. A driving range basket typically works quite well also. And you're going to place it on the ground just outside of your trail foot. So my regular stance, I'm going to put the bucket just to the side of my foot, and then I'm going to raise my foot up off the ground and place it onto the bucket. This is propping up my right side and beginning to build in more left tilt of my hips than I would generally have in a standard setup. And the reason that's a good thing is as I go ahead and make a backswing with this right side or trail side propped up, I now create fantastic tilts in my hips and my shoulders. I also create some really nice extension in my spine. One of the things that becomes extremely difficult to do when you're doing this drill is it's extremely difficult to move back in flexion and stay bent over and shift to the trail side. So it's setting me up for an extremely centered backswing when my weight's very much centered and then beginning to fall forwards as I transition. So I'm very centered and nicely tilted. Both things that we know from previous videos are extremely prevalent in good ball strikers. So great drill for the backswing. Prop your right foot up, pop it up on the box, the bucket, whatever you're using. Conform to the grid. I told you that the grid lines are going to be important. You don't want to just start moving this club around you too low, or can quite often happen when we're adding in all this extra tilt. People can often just start lifting the club up vertically or far too straight. Use the club path and the hand path. Make sure you conform to that in the backswing. And at the top of the swing here, I've got these tilts nicely built in and this extension, and I'm ready to start down. And it's in the downswing, the transition and the downswing where this drill really starts to come into its own, because what it really stops people from being able to do is making the mistake of tipping back in the downswing. That can happen for a number of reasons. There's plenty of reasons why that could be happening, but I often see from people sometimes who are trying to really move their hips forward. I would actively and highly encourage the pelvis and the hips to move forward in the downswing. You'll know that from previous videos, but what can happen, it can be misinterpreted sometimes, and as the hips bump forward, the spine, the upper center here, can start to tip back, and golfers who start to tip back become very prone to hitting the ground behind the ball, topping the ball, and a shift in the swing direction as well, so it can cause all sorts of problems. When you've got the prop in place, not only does it help our backswing be more functional, create these nice tilts and extension, now as I start the initial downswing, really nice feeling of being able to move into that lead side, my left knee starts to flex, my pelvis starts to move more forwards and down, and for the initial part of the downswing, I really maintain this left tilt. Too often that can start to disappear in the early downswing, and golfers who haven't quite got that sequence of events as they should be. So what we've got is better extension and tilts on the backswing, and then a really nice way of starting the transition of, some would call it recentering or moving the centers more forwards. That's what I would say. The centers are always centered in a good swing, and then they're starting to move down and forward. And from here, I'm in a great spot to compress the ball. I've got my weight forward, I haven't tipped back, I've got my head centered, and my shaft is leaning forward, ready to hit the ball. So now I can go ahead and hit some of these with this limited follow through, which is a bit like the hit hard, stop quick drill. So it's hit hard, stop quick, with the added benefit of making sure that the body is tilting, extending, and moving how it should. So here we go, let's start out slow. I would encourage you to start out slow. Oftentimes, as I've done, is say to you, try just doing a few of these without a ball. Feel that extension and tilting in the backswing. Make sure we're conforming to the grid. As you come down, your weight will want to move forward. We're going to hit the ground, and we're going to stop with our right leg straight and our hips forward. Very similar to the hit hard, stop quick sort of principle, but as I say, this time we're adding in better or more extreme body motions just to train for people who struggle with this sequencing. There's a lot of people who aren't able to really get that sequence of events at the top of the backswing, into transition and into the downswing. It's hard to get those organized correctly. This drill really helps you to do it. Once you've done some practice swings and feel confident and comfortable that you're going to hit the ball, or at least hit the ground, we'll go ahead and hit a couple. I mean, in terms of strike, it doesn't get much better than that. It's got 100 meters, 110 yards. This isn't about hitting the ball far. This is about creating those impact alignments to train good ball striking. That was 9.8 degrees down angle of attack. A really excellent way to teach someone, new golfers, yes, but even those of you who are playing and have played for a long time, who really struggle to get that compression and that quality of ball striking that you're looking for. It's okay when your ball's sitting up on a nice piece of turf. It may even be sitting up slightly in the rough. Oftentimes, a lot of the people I teach prefer to have their ball in the rough because it sits up above the ground. That's a red flag. If that's you, that speaks to someone whose swing and angle of attack isn't downwards enough. It speaks to someone who's sweeping the ball too much. And if you're falling into that category, you're always going to struggle when your ball's sitting on a tight fairway or a tight lie. This drill can start to teach you the mechanics and the feels necessary to really compress and flush the ball every single time. What I'm also creating here, by propping my trail side up, I'm creating or recreating similar sort of setup to if you were on a downhill lie. So if you are standing on a lie like this, where the sloping down towards the target, and I know how so many of you struggle with that shot. I've spoken about that in previous videos as well. This is really helping you to get that sense of keeping that weight forward, maintaining good tilts and extension, and then moving forward correctly in the downswing. One more of these, nice extension, and then as I start down, hit hard, stop quick with my hips forward and my right leg straight. That one felt even better. It's gone 20 meters further, 120 meters, 130 yards, just chipping these 8 irons out there without a huge amount of effort, 9.7 degrees down, almost identical club paths, just 3 degrees in to out. So I'm conforming nicely to the grid, swinging pretty straight, but for the first time for many of you, this will be the really strong feeling of having some shaft lean, having your weight sufficiently forward. And when I say sufficiently forward, I'm making the point that so many of you never get your weight far enough forward to hit these shots. Having the shaft lean, having your weight sufficiently forward to actually, for maybe the first time ever, create these impact alignments where you actually really strike the ball and compress the ball properly. I think this is a great exercise for you to do. Start out small and slow. I say I'm hitting an 8 iron here. I wouldn't recommend you start doing this with your 3-wood. I would recommend wedges, 9 irons, 8 irons are a great place for you to start. Have a go, see if you get some benefit, and then you can start to take that concept into actually striking the ball. We get rid of the bucket. Now that you know what this should feel like, you can begin to start with your right hip, your trail hip, a little bit raised at setup. So building in this preset where the tilts are already in the hips. So my right hip feels higher than my left. Make a backswing. Again, good tilts, good extension. Right hip higher. Right hip higher than the left. And then we'll go ahead and hit one. Same feel. Right hip higher than the left. Hit hard, stop quick. Without the bucket, I'm able to follow through and go a little bit further on my follow through. Still managed 7.2 degrees down. Again, another really nice contact. That ball went just a little bit further. My swing was that little bit longer. This isn't about hitting the ball far. It's about creating the feels of good ball striking. Give it a go. I really want to hear how you get on with this. It's a great exercise to teach crispy, solid ball striking, and who doesn't want that? Guys, thanks for watching. One thing to just mention about the drill and the prop itself, what you choose to place your foot on, make sure you don't make it too high in the beginning. I'm quite tall, I can get away with being a little bit further off the ground. Start smaller and maybe build it up a foot or so to begin with, and then just gradually build upon that if you feel comfortable doing so. It's really just to try and incorporate and train more of the tilting and more of the left tilting in transition so that you're not tipping back. So it doesn't have to be a perfect or specific prop. It can be anything that's functional and helps you to do that. Should allow you to keep your weight more forward, hit down more, and get those compressed iron shots that I was speaking about. Do go ahead and give it a try. Do get down in those comments and let me know what you think. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, guys, do go ahead and click that subscribe button for more golf-related content. And there's plenty of videos in the library that should help your game no matter what your problem is. Look forward to doing more of these this year. Until next time, guys, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you again soon for another video.